Do you know what correlates with STD rates around the world and in this country? Christianity.
Oh, I see. Wait a second.
The more Christian states have more STDs, the more Christian countries have more STDs.
So what demographic do you think is the most polyamorous? Would you say homosexuals?
I don't know.
Homosexuals, Richard?
So the relevant metric would be
Richard,
numbers.
is it homosexuals?
So no, you're asking about rate, but you're talking about raw numbers.
No, I'm just asking you, are there more polyamorous people
Yes.
who are yes, thank you.
No.
And what are the STD rates of those polyamorous people?
No. You're wrong. If that happened, if the country actually voted to destroy itself, I would have to leave.
You say the use of force rather than persuasion in democracy. That's what fascism is. If people utilize democracy to limit democracy, it's still democracy.
Yeah, a fascist democracy.
That's not fascism.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So
It's a fascist democracy.
Listen to that. A professional historian, a self-proclaimed evidence guy, sits there and claims the more Christian a place is, the more STDs it has. Not promiscuity, not the sexual revolution, not the explosion of casual partners, Christianity. This is the level of serious intellectual firepower the secular side is bringing in 2024. And Andrew Wilson is about to take that claim apart piece by piece while Carrier squirms, dodges, and invents distinctions on the fly. Stay locked in, the humiliation only gets better from here.
Do you know what correlates with STD rates around the world and in this country? Christianity.
Oh, I see. Wait a second.
The more Christian states have more STDs, the more Christian countries have more STDs.
So do you think that when this place was a lot more Christian, there were a lot more STDs?
Well, if we don't have data on that, I don't know. But
well, the answer is no. Hang on.
I'm talking about the data right now.
Yeah, I'm talking about the data right now too.
Rates, so we can show that there's a correlation between how Christian a country is and how many STDs there are, and therefore, the more secular the country, the fewer STDs there are.
No, actually, when we parse this is crazy. Actually, I would never expect you to make this argument. If you're talking about the more Christian an area is, the more STD it is. If we chalk this up between minority and non-minority, that's the case. And so this is what's really interesting about this. I bet most of the countries...
It's cross-country.
Yeah, but...
To other countries. It's same in Sweden, when you compare Sweden to the U.S.
I bet most of the countries...
compare Japan to the U.S.
Are most of the countries that you're going to be making a comparison to, where the STD rates really start to climb up, going to be third world nations who are Christian?
Well, third world nations aren't necessarily free democracies. That varies. So that's not really a relevant comparison here. So, but no, these are the studies. The studies show that when you have a more Christian society... whether it's state or country, whether it's Finland, for example.
Do you think we had
you can't blame STDs on minorities?
Well, I got it.
The statistics don't support that.
This is wild to me. Do you think that we were more or less of a Christian country in 1945?
I think we're less of a Christian country now.
I agree. So if that's the case,
if we're talking about
shouldn't we see way more STDs in 1945 than we do right now?
I don't know, because I don't know the data on that.
Oh, well, there was...
But what would matter...
Wait, hang on. If I could demonstrate for you, if we just look at the historic STD rates, and we're seeing the STD rates grow, and this is attributed to things like sex work and promiscuity, especially sexual revolution since the 70s. Imagine this, Richard. I can just logically demonstrate this for you. Are people having more or less sex now that they have condoms, birth control, vasectomies, would you say?
Oh, yeah, definitely, probably having
and
more
what
sex,
would you correlate higher than sex for STDs? Anything?
Well, you can look at this where you see the military. You look at the military in World War II, the STD rates in our soldiers compared to the military now, it's down a lot. So
because they regulate sex. They regulate.
No.
Yeah, well, yes, they
soldiers
do.
can have as much sex, even more sex now than they did back then.
Wait a second.
So
let's back up. Let's make sure we got this right. Okay, so if it is the case that we go back to 1945, you say it's a more Christian country then, right? There's less STDs. You agree with me that it is the case that the correlation of STD, the highest one's going to be sexual intercourse. People are having more sexual intercourse, especially since the sexual revolution.
You got to be careful here, because to do a correct comparison, you actually need to compare like with like. So there are conditions that change between...
We are Christian, less Christian. Like.
No, but I'm just saying that there are other conditions, economic, population size, all these other conditions that can affect the relationship.
What could possibly be more of a correlate than penis and vagina? What?
Lots of things. Access
for an
to
STD?
Sex, access to prostitutes, access to sex, access to other partners, and so on. All sorts of things.
Hang on. If we completely...
There are lots of things that can change this. So
hang on, Richard. Isn't it the case if we eliminated sexual intercourse, there would not be STDs no more?
I'm sorry, say that again?
If we eliminated sexual intercourse, nobody's having sex, there are no more STDs, right?
Sure.
Okay, great.
The problem is that then that creates a greater harm if you're preventing everyone from having sex.
No, I understand.
So that's not my evidence-based, human-centered reasoning would deny that as an irrational move.
Yeah, that's not my point. My point is that this idea that you have that STDs, right, don't increase even though the population is having a lot more sex, because you're telling the population that it's fine to have a lot more sex because this God
you're
creature.
Wrong. You're scientifically wrong. And I can.
How am I scientifically wrong?
I'll give you an example. There's studies of polyamorous couples. The rate of STDs among monogamous couples is actually higher than the rate of STDs among polyamorous couples. Polyamorous couples are having way more sex than the monogamous people. Why is their STD rate down? Because they engage in safe sex. So that's the thing. You can't have that kind of correlation. If you're acting like a secular humanist, you're going to act in a rational way, and therefore you're going to evidence-based way. You're going to engage in safe sex, and therefore that's what we should promote. We should be teaching safe sex skills and so forth. So that actually also has been shown when you actually teach people safe sex, they actually have less STDs.
Hang on,
less teen pregnancy.
What demographic do you think is the most polyamorous? Would you say homosexuals?
I don't know.
There it is. Carrier doubles down. More Christian states, more STDs. More Christian countries, more STDs. Sweden good, America bad, Japan good, all because they're less Christian. Andrew doesn't even flinch. He just asks the obvious question every normal person is screaming at the screen. Were STD rates higher in 1945 when America was far more Christian? Carrier doesn't know. He suddenly needs data. Funny how the data only matters when it might hurt his narrative. Then Andrew goes straight for the throat. People are having more sex now, condoms, birth control, the whole sexual revolution package, and STDs are climbing. What correlates more with STDs than actual sexual intercourse? Carrier starts scrambling about military rates and other conditions. Classic. When the simple correlation doesn't work, invent complexity. This is secular humanism in its pure form. Ignore the obvious, blame the Christians, and pretend safe sex education is the magic fix, while the numbers keep getting worse. Andrew is just holding up a mirror, and Carrier hates what he sees.
Homosexuals, Richard?
So the relevant metric would be
Richard,
numbers.
is it homosexuals?
So, no, you're asking about rate, but if you're talking about raw numbers,
no, I'm just asking you, are there more polyamorous people who are... Yes, thank you.
No.
And what are the STD rates of those polyamorous people?
No. You're wrong. There are more heterosexual polyamorous people because by raw numbers.
I'm talking about per capita, clearly.
Yeah, by raw numbers. Per capita doesn't make your argument, though.
Yes, it actually does. What I'm saying is that if you have if it's polyamorous people, you're saying have less STDs. If it is the case that when we look at homosexuals who are the most polyamorous, they have the most STDs. What are you talking about?
But you aren't counting the polyamorous, like the actual polyamorous homosexuals, rather than just...
We can literally do it right now. Do you want me to go through and show you? Yes, of course.
Homosexuals practicing safe sex. You have a stat showing homosexuals practicing safe sex.
Well, no, see, the thing is they have the most amount of sex. That's why they have the most amount of STDs.
But the example I gave shows that you can have way more sex and get less STDs. And so if that works in one population... Actually,
you haven't demonstrated that. You just said it.
No,
but
there's a study you can find.
Oh, there's a study. Where? From who? Let me look at it, because that
is... So anybody can Google it. You can just go Googling it, try to find STD rates compared between polyamorous and monogamous people. So just as I said in my opening, you don't have to believe what I'm saying. You don't have to believe what he's saying. You can go find this stuff yourself. And so all we're doing is informing you of that. And so you know what to go look for in this. And this is a thing. So it proves that safe sex reduces STDs even with increased sexual activity.
But it doesn't, because if we look at
the lesson there is to promote safe sex, right?
Yeah.
It's not to suppress, send cops in to beat the shit out of you. Mm-hmm. We don't need Stonewall to get STDs down. We just need to have people who actually act responsibly, and we teach them how to do that and give them the skills and the means and access to that stuff.
Well,
it also lowers teen pregnancy. It lowers all the metrics that you're thinking of.
Yeah, let's just make sure that we get this right. I want to get into the argument now so we don't get too derailed. When we start with how do you think it is possible, that if it is the case that there is an invisible being that will punish people for wrongdoing, that they will be more likely to avoid the bad behaviors and promote others to avoid bad behaviors?
We know for a fact that that's not the case. So the statistics show the more Christians are actually, Christians are 3 times more likely to be teen mothers or single mothers than atheists. So,
but isn't that because atheists are more likely to abort their kids?
The Christian help is not.
Isn't that why?
No. There's no evidence of that.
There isn't?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
So, and this is the other thing, is like all the other markers follow country by country, state by state. The more Christian, the more we have STDs and teen pregnancy. So obviously Christianity is not curing the problem. Whereas you look at the more secular states, it's actually being the secular state that is curing the problem. That's why Sweden is so much better off than us on these metrics. It's not because of promotion of Christianity, it's by promotion of secular humanist ideals.
Well, Richard, since atheists, it's like 91% of them are pro-choice, right? Why do you think that they would be less likely to get an abortion than people who aren't pro-choice?
So a lot of people say they're pro-choice and then go have an abortion. So you have to actually count who's really doing it, not what they say.
Yeah, I know, but we're just going down to likelihoods here. So do you think that it's more likely that a person who believes and is pro-choice...
You have to go measure it.
I'm asking you about likelihoods, Richard. Do you think that...
I can't tell you likelihoods without doubt. You got to have evidence.
Logical.
You need evidence.
Logically, do you think it's logically likely?
Evidence. If you're not reasoning from evidence, we're wasting time here. So
okay, well then how can you make... If that's the case, then how can you make the claim...
And here comes the polyamory pivot. Carrier claims polyamorous couples have lower STD rates than monogamous ones because they practice safe sex. Andrew immediately asked the demographic question every honest person already knows the answer to. Who is the most polyamorous group? Homosexuals. Carrier tries to dance around raw numbers versus rates, per capita, actual polyamorous homosexuals. He's doing mental gymnastics so hard you can hear the joints cracking. Because the data is brutal, the groups with the highest number of partners also carry the highest STD burdens. That's not bigotry. That's public health statistics that secular humanists spend decades trying to memory hole. Andrew is simply refusing to let the euphemism stand. If more partners plus safe sex was the solution, the numbers would already be better. They're not. The sexual revolution promised liberation and delivered record STDs, broken families, and a generation of young women selling themselves on OnlyFans, while academics call it empowerment. Carrier's entire framework collapses the moment someone demands he look at actual human behavior instead of selective studies that flatter his ideology. Christianity didn't cause this mess. Abandoning the moral restraints that once kept people from treating sex like a recreational free-for-all did, Andrew Wilson just made that reality impossible to ignore.